Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Absolutely Hypocritical. I'm your host, the young OG. To all those that can look at themselves in the mirror and keep it real, this one's for you. Today, we have a sensitive subject to say the least. Normally, I don't like. I normally don't like to talk down on people's opinions, and I also don't try to also talk down on people's outlook on certain issues, but this one I feel it's necessary. The Brittney Griner situation. She just got released from a Russian prison within the last 24, 48 hours, something like that. I want to revisit, first and foremost, why she was in that situation, and then two, the response to her being released in a prisoner swap. So, first and foremost, Brittney Griner is a WNBA athlete. To say the least, she's a WNBA star, all-star. And in case you don't know, the reason she was in Russia is because most WNBA players, they go overseas when it's the WNBA off-season here because they don't get paid much at all. And so consider that when thinking about this situation. You have NBA players, NFL players, MLB players, soccer players, millions of dollars. When it's their off season, they're chilling. They're not working or nothing like that. But the WNBA players are so underpaid that as a professional athlete, during your off season for here, you have to go overseas and play. And they get paid more, whether it's Russia, Lithuania, Mexico. All these countries take part in overseas in basketball, and they make more overseas than they do in the United States. So she was over there playing basketball because it's hard for her to support herself off her only income from the WNBA here. After the season was finished, she was traveling back to the United States. She was stopped by customs at a Russian airport for less than a gram of cannabis oil. So, I mean, for layman's terms, let's just say a gram of a gram of weed, right? And she was arrested and held for that. She did have a trial in which she was sentenced to the maximum for that charge, 9 years. Again, for a gram of cannabis oil, 9 years in a Russian prison. So for those who haven't done any research on Russian prisons, it's not American jail. American jail is hard enough as is. Trust me, I would know. Unfortunately, and fortunately, but Russian prisons, it ain't no, oh, you getting 3 meals a day for sure. Then you get your exercise time. Oh, you're cold, you need a blanket. Bro, this is Russia, my G. If in case you haven't seen anything on how their prison system works, I've never been in a Russian prison. Thank God. Let's just get that out the way. But I have watched certain documentaries and certain things detailing how prison works out there. It's no joke. It's really no joke. Like, already, Russia, in case you don't know, they're very anti-LGBTQ. They're very anti-black. I would say more so than the United States. So you have a 7-foot female who's black, who's gay, and she's a political pawn. So I want you to consider all this when thinking about this situation. And again, on top of that, she was sentenced to 9 years for less than a gram of cannabis oil. Whether it was a gram of coke, heroin, crystal meth, less than a gram. Moving on to Victor Bout, the Merchant of Death. That was the United States prisoner who was swapped for Brittney Griner. To go into a little bit of detail about Victor Bout. He's a Russian arms dealer. He was previously a Soviet, a military translator for the Soviets. Um, the movie Lord of War, starring Nicolas Cage, is a film based on him. Um, and I don't want you to get confused and think I'm making a case for Victor Bout uh, in any positive way. It's not what I'm doing at all. Um, but he sold weapons to, I mean, countries all over the world, to uh, Colombia, the FARC in Colombia. That's a rebel group. Um, he sold weapons to Charles Taylor. That was once the dictator of Liberia. He sold weapons to Gaddafi. That was the dictator in Libya. Um, he sold weapons to Afghanistan, specifically the Mujahideen and the Taliban. Um, like I said, he sold weapons all over the world. Um, and now to the reaction of people, media, whoever, I find it crazy and really kind of disturbing, the negative reaction to Brittney Griner being traded for Victor Bout in the prisoner swap. I hear people saying, "Oh, to trade a WNBA star for a Russian arms dealer, this is crazy." Um, it's really beyond me, so I'm kind of at a loss for words, so forgive me if it takes me a moment. But, specifically, I heard Kari Lake. She's a lady who ran for the governor of Arizona. Um, she's a MAGA Republican. She's really just stupid, to say the least, in my opinion. I don't like to talk down on people or use that type of language towards people, but in all honesty, she's stupid. These are the same people who say, "Oh, we want to abolish mail-in voting because it's rife with fraud." And then when they lose an election, they say, "Oh, well, I don't know why we lost it, but no Republicans trust mail-in voting, and we don't know why." Well, I mean, for the last 2 years, the right has been perpetuating the idea that mail-in voting is rife with fraud. So my question to those who believe that would be, well, can you give me an example? Can you give me an example of fraud that has to do with mail-in voting? I'm waiting. Oh, right. That's because there isn't much, at least not enough to change the outcome of an election. Um, and she had an interview where she was saying that, if that was me in a Russian jail, if that was Kari Lake, a lady who ran for the governor of Arizona, a lady who was a media personality for 30 years, she was a journalist. She's wealthy, well off, no worries in the world. She said, if that was me and they were talking about doing a prisoner swap for the Merchant of Death, Victor Bout, that I would say, guys, hold on, let me wait this out a little longer and see if we could get something else done to not let Victor Bout out. Man, I hope none of you guys believe that. As much time as I've done, I would never say, let me stay a little longer. And to anybody who really believes that, or would even say that, you're stupid as hell too, straight up. That's just so beyond reality. It's ridiculous. This lady, Kari Lake, is the same lady saying, "Oh, the people who were rioting and stuff on the streets and things like that, they're being held in these gulags and stuff," talking about jails in America, specifically the rioters from the January 6th coup attempt. that they're being wrongfully imprisoned, that they're going through these squalid conditions. But yet, if she was a prisoner in Russia, in a Russian jail, being held on possession of less than a gram of cannabis oil, that if she was in talks, that if the U.S. government was in talks to do a prisoner swap for herself, Carrie Lake, and Victor Bout, that she would tell the government, hold off on that idea. Why don't you see if you could work something else out? I'll ride this out like the gangster that I am. My G, save that. Let's just talk reality. Let's be for real. Again, I've done plenty of time, more than enough. How much is not necessary to explain right now, but if you think I'm talking about like a week or something, that's fine. Think that if you want. I'm not talking about just a week. Again, with all the time that I've given to the system, I would never, ever, ever, ever say, let me just stay here longer if you're thinking about doing a prisoner swap with me and this guy. You know what I'd be saying? Swap us right now, G, so you could get me the hell out of here, because I ain't staying no longer than I got to. Let me go right now. And then I started looking on Instagram, Snapchat, and looking at all these things. And it's crazy. Even people I know are like, oh, this is so unfair that we traded Brittney Griner for Victor Bout. Well, how? How is it unfair? Explain that to me. Because he supplied arms to these different countries and different dictators. Again, I get it in the sense that, Victor Bout, he's done a lot more damage than Brittney Griner. Totally agreed. But let's look at reality here. There's a gentleman named Paul Whelan that's being held by Russia as well. He's a former Marine. He's a United States citizen. He's been there for about 4 years. He's being held on charges of espionage. And they tried to include him in the prisoner swap. Russia said, no, we're doing a 1-for-1. So they can't get Paul Whelan freed. Let me backtrack. Give me just a moment. Let me backtrack on that. Paul Whelan even said himself, since this prisoner swap, I knew it wasn't realistic that I would be included in that prisoner swap. Those are words from his own mouth, that he knew it wasn't realistic that he would be brought home on this prisoner swap. For those that are offering their opinion about this, saying that it's so unfair and things like that, one, I would just ask you, have you done any research around this whole situation for you to say it's unfair, that we shouldn't have did that? Second of all, to the people who are saying that, more than likely, I would assume that you ain't never done no time yourself. Not saying that that's a badge of honor or you get any stripes for that. But what I am saying is, you're not familiar with that feeling or that fight. And for you to wish that somebody doesn't come home from jail, again, a Russian jail, where you're being held for less than a gram of cannabis oil and you got sentenced to 9 years, for all you that are saying that's unfair, how many friends have y'all had that have been arrested, wrongfully arrested, and you put on a shirt, free my boy, or so-and-so, or blah, blah. Would you ever wish them that they didn't come home for any reason almost? And yeah, it's different. That would be your friend or someone but to wish jail upon someone for any reason besides a few sick reasons, I wouldn't wish jail upon nobody. There's a saying, I don't think many of you have heard it, it says, you know, you show me a man who smiles a lot, and I'll show you a man who's been through a lot of pain. To go in depth on that, you know, the people who have fought in wars, who have been in wars, those are usually the last people that want to start a war or go back to war. They've seen the death. They've seen the atrocities that can do. They've seen how it can ruin a people, a country, whatever. So when other people are calling for war, this person that's already been through war and seeing how much negative, how much destruction it causes, those are usually the last ones calling for war at that point. I make that point again because people are saying, oh, she shouldn't be freed. Oh, you probably ain't never been in that situation. And I find it appalling for people to say that, oh, she shouldn't be freed. Oh, we shouldn't have traded her. You've never been in that situation. And I highly doubt you've been in that situation. And because you know the mental stress that could put on you, that being in jail could put on you. And again, I want to reiterate this again. This is not an American jail. You know, oh, right to a speedy trial. Oh, 72 hours until you got your charges. Whatever. All these goddamn rules. No, it ain't like that in Russia. It ain't like that in Russia. You know, for less than a gram of cannabis oil, it's ridiculous. She shouldn't have been there in the first place. You know, when I got locked up one time for, I want to say that was one of the shorter ones, to keep it real. I think it was like 3 months. It was only like 2 or 3 months. My daughter was really young at the time. She was about 2, maybe 3. Do you know that my daughter's going to be 6 here in a couple weeks? Do you know I am still dealing with trauma that she deals with from me being gone a short amount of time, 2 or 3 months? I'm still dealing with her trauma from me being gone during that time. You know, at one point when I came home from that short couple of months, I specifically remember I was going to the gas station. I don't remember what I was going there to grab, but it was right up the street. And I was getting ready to leave, and I told my daughter, I was like, Daddy will be right back. I'm just going to go get gas or whatever right up the street. When I tell you that girl threw a fit and almost had a heart attack, because the trauma that I've caused her from leaving for those couple months, it was all brought back up right there in that moment when I told her I was just going to the gas station. She ended up going with me because she was just so emotionally distraught, afraid that I was going to be gone for longer again. And, you know, seeing those feelings come up with my daughter, you know, I never want to put myself in a position to where I could possibly go back to jail again. And again, I bring that up to say that, you know, when you're doing time, when somebody's doing time, you know, your family is doing the time with you. For some people, they won't understand that, and I get it. It will take a little bit to really understand that. But when you're in jail and you're locked up, yeah, physically, you're the one going through it. You're in that little box. You know what I'm saying? I get it. It's not easy. But when you think about it, your family is going through that time with you. They're doing the time with you. Just because they're not physically there with you doesn't mean that they're not doing the time. Mentally, they're dealing with all the same things you got to deal with pretty much. They don't know how bills are going to be paid. They don't know where their next meal's coming from. They don't know if they'll have a place to sleep. You know, the hate and the negative attention that this is receiving, again, it just goes to show me why there's so much negativity these days. Because people, one, they just run their mouth without doing any type of research. They just want to fat mouth on whatever they hear. They hear somebody make a point and it sounds good to them. The next thing you know, they're fat mouthing it to the next person. To be real, bro, a lot of you people just need to shut your mouth and just shut up. Just shut up. Because you're making yourself look like a fool. You know what? I won't go there. I won't go there. I'll maybe save that for another time. Anyways, I know this is kind of an emotional topic for me, so forgive me if I kind of got carried away, maybe got off subject. I do want to bring a guest in really quick because I do want the opinion of someone else. Can you give me one moment? Mamas, you want to jump in here? Yes or no?
Yeah.
I might need your opinion. Come here. Come here. Come sit next to Daddy. This is my baby girl. Say hi.
Hi, I'm Joanna.
Good job. Don't be shy. So, mamas, I have one quick question for you. When Daddy was locked up that one time, do you remember how that made you feel? You do? Would you mind maybe sharing that with the people?
It made me really sad when you were gone, and I didn't like that because it really made me feel really bad and sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, from going through that experience yourself, would you ever wish that upon anybody else? No, right? You wouldn't want nobody else to go through that, right? Because you know how it made you feel, correct? I know you've heard what this video is about, baby, but that's why I wanted your input, because I've seen the effect that this has had on you. And, to everybody watching, she's 5 years old, about to be 6. She got more common sense than over half these people sitting here fat mouthing about this. In case you didn't see it, my daughter was just about to get teary-eyed. This is something that happened years ago, and it still has this effect on her. If nothing else, man, I want you guys to just think, before opening your mouth with your dumb opinions. Half you people out there are the ones that'll sit there and go do some dirt with somebody, and then you'll turn right around and tell them that same person. But then you want to knock somebody for being freed in a prisoner swap, like, bro, I'll sit down and do the time. Stop it, bro. Anyways, that's all I got for y'all. Look out for the next episode. I got to give a couple quick shout outs too. Specifically, there's some podcasters that I've been watching and just taking little things from them, getting a little game from them. Shout out to Hoodie in the Hood. I'm a subscriber to your channel. I like what you're doing. I watch your videos. I think you got some good content. Shout out to Dubs. Same thing. I appreciate your outlook and your opinion on things. I'm a subscriber. I watch your videos. Gunners Collective. That's another one. Same thing. I like your opinion. I watch your videos. I'm a subscriber to the channel. You also got some political podcasters that I enjoy watching. David Packman is one of them. I think he has a really great channel. Brian Tyler Cohen has a great channel that I like. Shout out to the Young Turks. Their whole cast is dope, from Jank to Anna to John. Rebel HQ, which I want to say is an offshoot of the Young Turks. So salute to all those people. Thank you for all the game that you guys have unknowingly been given. No, I didn't steal from nobody. I'm just kidding. Um, yeah, and that's it. That's all I got for y'all. Y'all have a blessed day. I'll see y'all on the next run. Deuces.